Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Oh my God.
All right. Hi, everyone. Today we're visiting with producer Lisa Masseur of Tessa Films and with writer, director, actor, the amazing, lovely, and talented McKenzie Chinn. Lisa and McKenzie have collaborated on the making of an Oscar qualifying short film, A Real One, which filmed in Chicago last summer and made its Chicago premiere last Saturday at the Chicago International Film Festival. And it will screen again on Sunday. So let's start by showing the trailer of A Real One, and then we'll go into discussing a little bit about how it was made and how you girls collaborated on this.
Spoke for the world today, I would be afraid, like everyone else. Like everyone else, I would just adjust to everything I couldn't change and shrink from everything else because that's easier.
Bitch, I deserve details.
I would be as invisible as I could be. Invisible is safe. People like to think they do it differently because it's easier to be the hero of your own imagination, but not so easy to be the hero of your own life.
Stop.
Usually everyone's waiting on someone else to save them.
Have some fun. College is a skill. What you come on in?
I'm looking. I actually want to do something with my life, unlike you.
I don't give a damn. Miss Walson, if you're watching this,
I got math first period.
sorry.
I had a plan.
I wrote it down in my journal. Knew it would happen. I knew it would happen. Like I knew the sun was gonna rise in the morning.
Wow. Kudos to both of you and well done. Lisa, I know you have a gift for spotting young talent, nurturing, challenging, and lifting them up. Can you tell us a little bit about how you and McKenzie got together?
Well, we met early in the pandemic times on a Zoom just like this, that I feel like was one of the very first Zoom panels that someone tried to pull off. And it was a panel of female filmmakers from Chicago, of which I was one and McKenzie was one. And at the end of the panel, we were each supposed to speak. And at the end of the panel, we were all supposed to be on together and be able to meet each other and talk and discuss things. And that end part never happened because the panel went long. So I reached out to McKenzie afterwards and I said, hey, I would love to just meet up because I was impressed with you and the work you've done. And I have one question for you though. Have you ever thought about directing? Ask that.
A little. It's been on the agenda.
Say that again.
It's been on her agenda, I'm sure, on her wish list.
It absolutely was. It was actually so fortunate that Lisa reached out because she actually beat me to it. I was so taken with how Lisa talked about her work that I had planned to follow up with Lisa, just to connect more fully with her. And then when she asked me about directing, I just so happened to be working on the short film. And it was my intention that as soon as we could kind of start working in film and television again, once it was safe, that I'd have my ducks in a row to move into production for the short. So it was just so fortunate that we met.
Excellent. Well, Lisa has the gift for that for sure. McKenzie, first of all, the story was beautifully written, beautifully filmed. And I can't imagine how fulfilling it must have been for you to create these characters and then bring them to life. And then what was it like to be in your hometown and sit in that Chicago International Film Festival screening for the Chicago premiere? What did it feel like to bring it home?
Oh my gosh, it was so special. And it was honestly, I think the moment I'd been waiting for since we completed production and post-production on the film. To me, there's nothing more special than bringing the finished project back to the people who helped make it and to the place that helped inspire it. So I was just incredibly proud to be able to call together the majority of our cast and crew and in such a powerful way. You know, Chicago International has been one of my favorite festivals for years. It's a very prominent festival.
Quite difficult to get into as well.
Yes, that was quite an honor to be an official selection at Chicago International. Yet they are pretty selective, and so again, it was just quite an honor to say, "Hey, what we all did, what we all pulled off, is being honored in this really remarkable and public way."
Well, I watched the film twice because I was drawn to it. And I found myself being drawn to these two very different personalities who are friends, who are jumping into adulthood, and they rely on each other to get through some of the most difficult moments. Did you pull from this, pull from your real life experience for this film?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think I pull from my own lived experience. I pull from what I know of the lived experience of the people around me. And something that I realized very early on, sharing even just the unproduced version of this, the script of a real one, is that so many women have versions of Lauren and Keisha's story in their own life, or know of stories very similar to Lauren and Keisha's. So it just felt very potent, and it just felt very alive. And it's very quickly felt like not just, my story, but it felt like a story I was sharing with the vast majority of women who I come into contact with.
Well, do you mind? Let's talk a little bit about the casting of the two girls. Some of us may recognize Eris Baker from This Is Us, and who was perfectly cast as Lauren, the girl who sets goals and doesn't want to make waves. But let's talk about Ariane Roche, who played Keisha. I loved everything about her. She just owned that character. And is she a Chicago girl?
Ariane is Chicago born and raised. I've known her for quite a few years. I actually met her when she was still in high school, and I remember seeing her in a production. It was a professional production that worked specifically with young actors, and she lit up the stage. I mean, she's just so charismatic, so truthful, so embodied. And we just kind of kept running into one another as she started working more and more in the professional scene, and we connected very quickly as artists, as people with similar world views. And so she just very quickly became part of my community, and I feel like I was just like waiting for the moment when I could work with her in a more professional capacity. And she was someone who was top of mind for that role. We did hold auditions for that role. It's important to me as a director to really do a thorough search for the right person. And I think to neither of me or Lisa's surprise, it was Ariane, who just was Keisha. She simply was.
And how much out of her real character was her real persona was that character? Because I've seen her IMDb page, and she looks nothing like the chick that we saw, that hardcore, carefree, life is good, don't bug me, stand up for your rights and whatever. How much of that was her in the character?
It's important to me that Keisha felt authentically like a teenager from the South Side of Chicago, and that's how Ariane grew up. So I'd like to think that it was pretty close to, to her heart. And also just knowing Ariane, she's an incredibly free spirit, very justice oriented, thinks outside the box. And so I think it was easy for her to bring, I'd like to think it was easy for her to bring some of her own sensibilities to that role.
Well, and you, McKenzie, shine as a director. I mean, the director's responsibility is to keep the actors in character. And you succeeded 100% on that, because I've seen where there are characters that are acting the role, and there are characters who are being the role. And you really brought that performance out of them. And I'm sure they were gifted as well. But I do have a favorite scene. And I love the way you filmed it. And I won't do any spoilers here, but it's the scene, it's that pivotal moment when Keisha and Lauren, her best friend, Keisha accidentally discovers something. And I just found that you were so wise to hold the camera on Keisha, because truthfully, it was her moment. She discovered this betrayal, the shock of it, and was truly her moment. And I was so drawn to the expression. It was so raw. The expression on her face just revealed everything that was going through her head at that shocking moment, revealed in her face without saying a word. And I thought that was just beautifully done. And let me ask you, was that something that you saw in the scene from the get-go, or was that something that you looked at in post and went, oh, wow, leave it on her?
When I'm writing, a lot of times I can see the movie in my mind. I can kind of see the shots. And so the moments that are very clear to me, I try to give as much on the page as I can so that my DP, my editor, my actors really have something strong to work with. So I'd like to think that I put enough on the page there for Irion to work with in that moment and to give her a real sense of what that meant to Keisha. But then another part of the way I like to work, because I started as an actor, right?
You are an actor.
I still am an actor. And so I like to think that I understand how a lot of actors think. And I think for the strongest actors, it's really important to just kind of give them something to work with and then get out of the way and give them space to create and to offer things, because they'll come up with things that I could never imagine when I'm writing, could never imagine when I'm creating the shot list. So I think it's a careful balance of both of those things. I think it's putting something on the page for the actors to work with, and then simply seeing what happens. And then my amazing director of photography, Hannah Welliver, was just such an amazing collaborator in saying, we really want to be nice and close on this because it's a pivotal moment. It changes everything about the relationship. And we're going to really want to see and feel that up close.
Yeah. And how much time do you spend with your actors before to prep the feel of the film and the input? I mean, I'm sure you have a table read or whatever, but how much time do you, I'll call it rehearse, but you don't want to implant your feelings when you want to give them that loose rein as well.
Yeah, I have a really strong background in theater. And my impulse in theater is to spend as much time as possible, because we get this long, luxurious rehearsal process in which we get to discover things more and more deeply all of the time. In film, I find it's really different. A lot of the times I like to just kind of set the framework and then see what happens on the day and see what happens in the moment and see what the first, freshest, rawest impulse is. We were fortunate enough to be able to have a day of rehearsal, which Lisa very generously hosted at her residence. So it felt it felt very homey. It felt very casual and intimate. So we were able to really, cast and crew, connect with one another in really strong ways that I think set a really great foundation for how we were going to work over the next 2 days. And we only shot 2 days, which for that film was a very short amount of time. So we needed to be able to
that was another question. How many days of actual filming?
Just 2. So it felt that much more important to give the actors a strong foundation and then to just let what arose from them in the most authentic way and to be ready to capture that.
Now, Lisa, you had mentioned in an earlier story that we did on you regarding the feature that there is possibly a feature version of this in the works, and that it was in development and is supported by Sundance Institute, and that you will be attached to the project. So I wondered if there's any updates on that.
Updates are we're just full speed ahead. Finally, again, our timing has been a little off on this project, I guess from the get-go, that we initially got together and wanted to shoot the short early in the pandemic, and the pandemic kept going. Lucky for us, that meant that McKenzie applied and got into the Sundance Writers and then subsequently Directors Lab. And in both of those labs, she developed the feature version of a real one. So coming back and shooting the short as a proof of concept for the feature is hopefully going to be helping us to gather additional partners and or funding, as you know, is always the big challenge. But unfortunately, we also hit the writer's strike while our film has been on its festival circuit. So our timing was off as far as particularly for bigger partners who are interested and wanted to talk to us.
Everybody is waiting. We're all sitting on go.
Everybody stopped talking. So hopefully now we are back to talking, and it'll take time again, but hopefully we're back in that position and coming off a strong festival run. I feel really great about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about where you're going next. But I do want to stick on topic. I when I watched it, I thought I would watch this as a series. This looks like a pilot in the making for a series, not unlike Firefly Lane or I just saw myself drawn to these girls, and I didn't want to just see them come and go in a movie. I wanted to see them develop on and on in a series. So I plant that seed, but I'm always interested in how projects are financed. And McKenzie, can you tell us about the Bentonville See It, Be It, Make It filmmaker grant? And did the grant cover the entire budget of the film? And maybe Lisa needs to jump in on that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was, I made a feature that premiered in 2018 called Olympia. I wrote and starred in that feature. I didn't direct it because I felt very new to filmmaking at the time and wanted to work with a director who knew a bit more than I did and could do it justice more than I felt I could at the time. And it also ended up screening at the Bentonville Film Festival in 2019, where it won the Best Narrative Feature Audience Award. And Bentonville is a great environment. It's so supportive of women filmmakers, of filmmakers who experience other types of marginalization based on their identities. So I was able to connect really strongly with the folks who run that festival, and they invited me to be a part of the inaugural cohort of their fellowship program. They knew I was also working towards this new project. They knew I wanted to make this short as kind of my entrance into the world of directing. And they're also very committed to creating opportunity, like real material opportunities for filmmakers there. They created the inaugural See It, Be It filmmaker grant, which is furnished by NBC Universal, and I was the first recipient of that grant. Wow. It did cover the majority of our budget. We did have to find a bit more in order to really make this short what we wanted it to be. We knew we didn't want to just do this for a few $1,000s. We wanted to really make sure that we had high production value and could also pay our collaborators in a way that felt fair.
I'll digress for a minute. That just brought to mind Lisa Masseur was actually on board with oh no, I'm going to forget the name of it. Abby, Work in Progress. And that one just exploded. I mean, that started as a low budget, let's just get this done, shoestring budget. And surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, because you had a room full of talented people who put this test pilot together, ended up in Sundance, and then Showtime remarkably took that film on and said, no, you don't need to reshoot it. We like it just the way it is. How did that make you feel, Lisa?
Well, I think it's a testament to all of the talent in Chicago, and it proves that Chicago homegrown and created talent from beginning to end, writing, shooting, directing, the crews, the talent, post-production resources. It's all here. And I mean, I've been around for a while, and we've been talking about this for years and years and years and years. And when I started my company, I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm going to find these projects that I believe in or that touch my heart, and we're going to make it happen, and we're going to prove that it can happen beginning to end here, because the talent is here.
And speaking of that, you actually started your production company, Tessa Films, And within moments, you were jumping right into this production of a work in progress. Am I correct? Wasn't it all in the same year that it just kind of exploded for you?
Yes. But to be told, we had shot one scene from Work in Progress before I started Tessa. And at the time, Tim and Abby had shopped it around, trying to get it sold in Hollywood. And not surprisingly, no one bid on it. And Abby reminded me when I started Tessa, she said, "Is it time yet?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I remember when we were talking about what would happen if we couldn't sell, the project based on this one scene that we shot. You said, well, if we don't sell it based on that, then I guess we'll just have to shoot the whole pilot." And so that's what we did.
You're like, did I say that?
I really didn't remember that, but I mean, it was kind of true. You didn't get
Yeah.
the heart of what that show was really going to be. And particularly Abby, who was unknown at the time, of course. And I mean, clearly, particularly, even when they were trying to shop it around, that was not necessarily a show that a lot of people probably would have gotten behind. But when you see the essence of
It was
Abby,
amazing. It was unique. It was, very, very out there. I loved it. I loved it. So sad to see that it didn't renew. McKenzie, you are also just finishing up your year-long fellowship with the Chicago Film Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you had to do to qualify for the program?
Well, I think I finished my year around this time last year. I was also a part of their inaugural cohort. So the festival was looking for ways to support filmmakers more directly, created this fellowship. And so, Olympia, the feature that I wrote and starred in, made its Chicago premiere at the 2018 Chicago Film Festival. And so I've had a really lovely for some time. And I think when they were thinking, okay, who can we, talk to about this inaugural class, I was one of those folks. So I was very fortunate to kind of be invited on board and to receive that support as I, continued to develop as a director. And it was around this time last year that it culminated with our participation in the pitch, where, we got to literally pitch our project to a panel of judges and industry professionals.
Not too much pressure. So can you give us your 2-minute elevator pitch?
Oh my gosh, you're putting
a real one
spot. I'm giving my little, whenever I happen to find myself talking about the film, I always talk about a real one as a coming of age feature about Lauren and Keisha, who are 17 and in their senior year of high school on the south side of Chicago. And that it's deeply about their friendship and about what happens within their friendship when one discovers a deeply held secret that the other has been holding. And that it's very much about the trickiest parts of moving from adulthood or moving from adolescence into adulthood, and the ways in which women, and especially in the case of this film, Black women, show up for one another in ways that oftentimes the rest of the world doesn't.
Lovely. Exactly. Lisa, is there another project in the works that you can talk about? And will you two be collaborating again in the near future, we hope?
Well, McKenzie and I, this is hopefully just the start of our collaboration. And besides a real one that we are developing and hoping that we can get the feature made within the next year or so, we are also dipping our toes into the other side of my business at Tessa. And I'm hopefully going to be supporting McKenzie in her efforts to try and break into more of the advertising and commercial branded content world. And she just was honored to be a part of the shoot new director search. And she was chosen for this year to be a part of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So hopefully this is only the beginning of our relationship and us working together.
Nice. Well, you make a nice combination. Good partners. Absolutely. I love to see women in film.
No kidding, right?
Yeah. So tell me, if we want to see a real one, are there any festivals coming up that you can mention? I know we still have one more screening at the Chicago Film Festival, and I'll mention that right now. If you missed it on Saturday on the film, it is on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. AMC New City, 1500 North Clybourne on screen 13. Be there. And I think it's also streaming if you go to their website. I think you'll find that it's streaming for the next few days, I think until the 22nd, in case you can't make it now. Where else can we see it?
Absolutely. We will have our New York City premiere on October 27th at the Bushwick Film Festival, which Lisa and I will both be able to attend. We're very excited about that. And then we'll bring home our entire festival run at the Black Harvest Film Festival back here in Chicago.
Nice.
November. That was just announced, so I really do have to double check our dates.
Okay.
But that will be in November, and so we're so happy that we got to screen with Chicago International, one of my favorites. Black Harvest has been in my heart for quite a few years also, and it feels great to be bringing our festival run home right back where we started.
Lovely. I'll look forward to that one as well. So is there anything else that you would like to talk about? Otherwise, it's been a joy and a triumph to get the three of us together in one space to talk. I wish good things on a real one. And I look forward to talking with you again about bigger and better things.
Thank you.
But thank you both for freeing up and being here for us today.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk about film, to talk about, the work that's important to me. And I also just really appreciate platforms that champion not just independent work, but these small, important stories that I think sometimes really struggle to find the champions, to find the support, to find the funding that they really need and deserve, but that we've seen time and time again can be so impactful to audiences, can be incredibly financially successful, and that can also just really help continue and promote the culture of film in America. So thank you for providing that space.
Oh, all the time. For you, always. For you, Lisa, always.
And hey, champions out there who are interested, get in touch with us. Please.
Absolutely. You know how to reach them. Lisa at Tessa Films.
Got it.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll add that, we do have a film website. You can follow along our journey if you are interested at areal1film.com. That's the number one.
All right. I'll pop that up on the screen. All right, ladies. Love you both. Wish you nothing but the best. Okay. Thank you.